You could have the most expensive, most powerful, top-of-the-line firewall money can buy, but honestly, without the right rules, it's not just a waste of money, it's a colossal security risk. So today, we're going to break down the 5 core principles that will turn your firewall from a potential weak link into the absolute fortress it's meant to be. Look, it's so easy to get caught up in all the specs and the fancy features, but this quote, it just cuts right through all the noise. The real security of your firewall doesn't come from the logo on the box. It comes from the logic, the discipline, and the actual thought that you put into the policy you write for it. And that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? If the rules are wrong, that expensive piece of gear is basically a doorstop. A single poorly written rule, like that infamous any permit rule, can literally turn your firewall into a wide open door, just inviting trouble right onto your network. Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we'll zero in on the firewall's true weak point. Then, we're going to walk through 5 key principles, from starting with a default no, all the way to future-proofing your work. By the end, you'll know how to make your policy absolutely rock solid. So what's the real vulnerability here? It's not the hardware. It's not the software. The firewall's biggest hidden weakness is us. It's the potential for simple human error during configuration. One little mistake, one lazy shortcut can undermine entire security of your network. And that brings us right to the most fundamental principle of them all. You have to start with the firm no. This is the bedrock of any secure firewall policy. It's called a default deny policy, and trust me, it's a complete game changer. Adopting this really takes a mental shift. You have to stop asking, what should I block, and start thinking in a much safer way. What specifically do I absolutely need to allow? When you deny everything else by default, you make sure there are no accidental gaps or loopholes in your security. And this rule right here, this is your ultimate safety net. You place it at the very, very bottom of your rule set. If a packet of data gets through all your specific allow rules without a match, this last rule catches it and drops it. That's peace of mind. Okay, let's move on to our second principle. We just saw the one and only place where using the word any is a good thing. Now we're going to see why in every other rule, any can be the most dangerous word in your entire policy. So imagine you get this request. It seems super simple, right? A user needs to get to the internet. The temptation is just to whip up a quick rule and move on. But how you do this is absolutely critical, and the lazy way can open up a massive security hole. Okay, so if you set the destination to any, you're not just giving them internet access. Oh no, you're potentially giving them access to every single other internal network you have. The finance department, the server VLANs, all of it. Ransomware would have a field day. The secure way is to be explicit. Define the destination as internet, or even better, not internal. This gets the job done without creating all that unintended access. So, being specific is vital. But let's be real, as your network grows, trying to manage hundreds of individual rules can become a total nightmare. And that brings us right to principle number 3, using groups to stay organized and sane. Just think about it for a second. Let's say you have 10 monitoring servers, and each one needs access to a dozen different parts of the network. That is a ton of rules to manage. And what happens when you decommission one of those servers? It is so incredibly easy to forget to remove all of its old rules, leaving those dangerous permissions just sitting there, waiting for trouble. But here's the beautiful, elegant solution. Instead of writing dozens of rules, you create one group object. You add all your server IPs to it, and then you write your rules using that single group. Now when a server comes or goes, you only have to make one change. Just update the group. It's clean, it's simple, and it is so much less likely to cause a mistake. And this really just says it all. Using groups prevents future security holes. I mean, imagine a retired server's IP address gets reused 6 months from now for a new web server. If you forgot to remove those old firewall rules, that brand new application now has all kinds of access it should never, ever have. Groups stop that entire category of risk cold. All right, let's get to our final 2 principles. These are all about making sure your hard work actually lasts. A firewall policy isn't just for today. It needs to be understandable and effective for years to come. And that's where structure and comments come in. Principle 4 is all about logic. A well-structured policy is way easier for you and your team to read. And guess what? It's also more efficient for the firewall itself. Putting high traffic rules, like for DNS, right up near the top means the firewall has to do less work. That can make a real difference in performance. And finally, Principle 5, comment everything. I mean everything. Look at these two rules. Technically, they do the exact same thing, but that second one tells you why the rule exists. And let me tell you, 6 months from now, when you're troubleshooting an issue at 2 in the morning, that little comment is going to be your best friend. It provides context that is absolutely critical. Okay, let's bring it all home. We've seen how some pretty small mistakes can create some really big problems, but we've also seen how a disciplined approach can turn your firewall into a true security powerhouse. So here they are, the 5 principles in a nutshell. 1. Start with default deny. 2. Be explicit and just avoid using any. 3. Use groups to stay organized. 4. Maintain a logical structure. And 5. Comment everything you do. These 5 steps are your blueprint for a secure, maintainable firewall policy. And here it is, the ultimate takeaway. You can't blame the firewall for just doing what it's told. Its strength, its effectiveness, the security of your entire network, it all comes down to the thought, the care, and the discipline of the person writing the rules. That person is you. You are the strongest link. So I'll leave you with this one question. Your firewall is up and running, it's passing traffic, but is it actually secure? Go take a look at your policy through the lens of these 5 principles. The answer isn't in the flashing lights on the box. It's right there, written in the rules.